My wife is 100% Sicilian. Her parents were from Sicily. I've been there several times with her and with them, and it's beautiful. But it's also sort of mm, most of Sicily still exists in another era in a weird way. And I've also seen all of these stories online about this town in Italy and this town in Sicily are selling homes for a single euro. If you move in and you live there yourself for 5 years and spend 50,000 euro fixing it up, you own it forever. Um, and I just thought, post COVID, if you're a millennial couple and you work remotely and you can be anywhere you want, why wouldn't you do something like that? Especially with the the cost of houses in this country. Um, I live in Massachusetts, the most expensive place in the country. So why wouldn't you be like, oh, a single euro? Sure, I'll go live in Italy and work remotely from there. Why not? Um, and so I thought that was really interesting. And of course I thought, well, if you're going to do that, of course, you're buying a house you don't know much about, and all of these houses are old and have a history. And I don't want to give away exactly what the history is, but suffice to say, the house used to be owned by the Vatican, which they don't know when they initially buy it. Um, and it becomes both a ghost story, but also a story about true evil. It's the thing about horror stories and ghost stories, any supernatural story, is anytime you're using a trope, you have to understand what your version is. You have to spend time figuring out what they are in this story. You don't have to tell the reader that initially. You have to unravel it over time. But are your ghosts malignant or malicious? Is there more than one kind? Are there, so you really have to understand what it is you're trying to say, or what they are, even if you don't completely reveal it. Um, so to me, and again, I don't want to give too much away about this story. That said, the very presence of a ghost or something um, you can't see, something invisible, um, is unnerving even before you know whether it has malice toward you, right? Or if you know whether it's evil, because it's not supposed to be there. It's unnatural. So yeah, so I find that sort of peeling of the onion of what is it? There's a presence here. Does it mean me harm? All that stuff. But then also you have to fit that into whatever the era is that you're writing about. If it's a present day story and you pretend that people aren't going to react to the presence of some invisible force the way people would in 2025, with all the knowledge of all the pop culture we have about it, um, then you're naive. You're just not thinking. So it's always really interesting. I mean, at a certain point in the house of last resort, before they know what's really going on in the house, when they first are just like, hey, this house might be haunted. Um, there are conversations about, maybe we should make this a tourist attraction. You know what I mean? Like, it's that because this is a conversation people would have. Some people would have. I think the other big book for this year, for 2025, is that Brian Keene and I edited The End of the World as We Know It, New Tales of Stephen King's The Stand, which has 34 stories from 36 authors, all set in the world of Stephen King's The Stand. And Stephen King wrote the introduction, and it's all sort of authorized and everything. And he was really happy with the finished product, which made us really happy because Brian and I are exactly the same age, and The Stand is my favorite novel of all time, his favorite novel of all time. And being able to do that is, one of the, it's a top 5 highlight for me, for sure. I've done all of the above, depending on what book it is. But typically, so I have done, most of the time, if you're trying to sell an anthology to a mainstream publisher, what it means is you really have to curate it. You have to invite authors to contribute, and provide a list of the authors who are going to be in the book in order to get the publisher to say yes. So to sell to any of the big mainstream publishers, that's how you have to do it. And so our job to do this book was not only to solicit the approval of the man himself, but it was to come up with our wish list of who we wanted in this book, and go out to them and ask them if they wanted to contribute and what they would do, and get some ideas from them so that we didn't have a lot of overlapping stories, and sort of figure out what kinds of stories we wanted, and then to actually edit the stories. I mean, some editors really are more curators in the sense that they collect it all and pass it along to the editor at the publishing house, who also edits it. But I take the editing seriously. So this, we edit the stories first, put the whole manuscript together, and then deliver it to the publisher. I also have done the opposite, and honestly, Jim Moore and I did a book, I don't know how many years ago now, not too many years ago, called The Twisted Book of Shadows, with Twisted Publishing, which is part of Haverhill House, small press, and we did a GoFundMe to support it so we could pay the authors a professional page rate or word rate. And it was all blind submissions. There were no invitations. We had 700 and something stories come in. And we were able to choose the stories based on which stories we thought were the best stories. And a lot came out of that. I'm happy to talk about it, but a lot came out of that, which is, people say, anyway, there's a lot of conversation about men and women in horror, about race in horror, about LGBTQ, horror, and there were actually, the balance was one more female author than male author, and it was, it wasn't all white, it wasn't all, and this stuff it's really interesting to talk about, and we won the Shirley Jackson Award for that book, and so it is exhausting. It is a ton of work. We made no money ourselves off of it, but it was absolutely worth doing. And I applaud anybody who has the time to do that.